Welcome to Middle School Digital Shorts. My name is Chris, and boy, am I happy that you joined us today. So right now, I want you to take a bit of time to grab a piece of paper or your phone or your computer, and I want you to write the names of as many people as you can think of who are important in your life. Go ahead, right now. All right, hopefully you wrote the names of all the people who are important to you. The people in your class or your family, your team, or even here at Milestone. All the people that you know in a personal way. You know these people's names because they mean something to you, right? And if you're anything like me, you hope that you mean something to them in return. That's why I think it stings when people don't get your name right. I mean, is there anything worse than someone getting your name wrong? You tell them your name and they forget it. Or when they should know your name, but then they still can't get it right. A misspelled name on a coffee cup, right? Like, I love coffee, but it's Christopher with a PH, not an F. Or someone pronouncing your name wrong when they're taking attendance at school. Or the kid in school or sometimes at church always calling you by the wrong name. It is the worst, right? When I was in middle school, I grew up in a city called Boston. And I was going to my church at that time for like 10 years. And you would think 10 years of me being someplace that they would know my name. But for some strange reason, every time I went to church, there was always someone or some people calling me Christian or Michael. Like A, my name is Chris, and B, Michael is my best friend. How can he confuse us? Now, of course, when the barista at Starbucks or the substitute teacher calls you by the wrong name, you don't really correct them. You kind of just move on, and chances are high that that relationship probably will end right there. Them calling you the wrong name doesn't really impact your life beyond that moment. You're not losing sleep because the guy at the coffee shop added an H to Sarah on your coffee label, or the substitute teacher couldn't figure out how to actually pronounce Aaron. Aaron. That's a joke. But if your best friend, your coach, or one of your leaders at Milestone got your name wrong, if they misspelled it or mispronounced or even forgot your name, well, that hurts. Why? Because they're supposed to be the people who really know you. They're the game-changing, important relationships in your life. They're the people you listen to, lean on, and turn to when you're in need. They're the people you want to know your name, because with them, it's personal. The reality is, we all want somebody to know our name. We all want to feel like someone knows us in a real way. It makes us feel important. It helps us feel seen. When someone really knows our name, it's a sign that they know us. And that feels personal. So many of us spend a lot of time looking for a friendship like that. We want the BFF, someone who knows everything about us. The kind of a relationship where someone understands us without a word. We want someone who cares about us, values us, and stays close to us. We want a friend who knows our name because they know us in a real and personal way. But the reality is, you already have that. You already have a person in your life who knows you and loves you that way, and that person is Jesus. Now, let me stop here and acknowledge what you might be thinking. Of course you're talking about Jesus. We're at Milestone. You have to say that. And yes, I get why you think that. But I'm not just saying it because we're here. I'm saying it because it's true. Jesus knows each and every single one of us by name. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. He sees you and wants to know you in a real, personal way. Now, I get that this is a hard thing for a lot of us to believe, and honestly, I understand why. Because to so many of us, Jesus doesn't seem all that personal. Maybe you feel like he's too big to notice you. If he's big enough to be the creator of the universe, then how could he possibly know us personally? We're not nearly that important, right? Or maybe you feel that way because it doesn't seem like he's there. You can't see him, you can't hear him talk back to you. So how can he know you so personally if you haven't heard or seen him? Maybe you feel like he's impersonal because you just don't know you don't know much about him. You're not sure if you believe in him or if he even gives that much thought to you. That sure doesn't make him feel all that personal to you, right? You may even be wondering why you want to be known by him personally. To you, he's just someone who judges your every move or makes you follow a bunch of rules. You might think he doesn't care about you. He just cares about your behavior. And knowing you personally is about so much more than just knowing what you did right or wrong. Or maybe you feel like if he knew the real you, he wouldn't want to be close to you. The things you've done, the mistakes that you've made, the thoughts that you think, or those are the things that you don't want anyone to know about you personally. And no matter what you think or feel about him, the reality is that Jesus does know your name, and it's not in the same way that means you're on his list or that he's got an eye on you, in a way that lets you know that to him, you matter. He knows your name because to him, it's personal. And to show you what I mean, we're going to take a look at an encounter Jesus had while he was on earth with a man named Zacchaeus. It's found in a book called Luke, which was written by one of Jesus's closest followers. Now, let me set the scene. Jesus was coming into the town of Jericho with a crowd all around him, and by this time in his ministry, he had become pretty well known. People had seen Jesus do miracles, heal the sick, teach amazing things, and even saw him raise a man from the dead. So basically, Jesus was a pretty big deal. And as Jesus was passing through this crowd, someone caught his eye. Someone caused him to stop. And this is where we meet Zacchaeus. And he had a little bit of a different reputation than Jesus. Let's take a look. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. You see, tax collectors in this time were viewed as being the worst. No one really liked them at all. They cheated people out of money, and because of that, people saw them as outsiders or traitors. All that to say, Zacchaeus was not super popular. On that day, Zacchaeus actually wanted to see Jesus. So, as a shorter guy, he had to climb a tree just to get a glimpse. And up in that tree, Zacchaeus got a lot more than he probably expected. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." Now, think about this. Out of this huge crowd of people, Jesus stopped and called out to just one guy, Zacchaeus. Jesus called his name. How startling it must have been for Zacchaeus that Jesus not only knew his name, but that he said his name out loud. Jesus called to him in front of everybody. Remember, Zacchaeus was not popular with this crowd, and he knew it. And he probably knew that Jesus knew it too. So to have Jesus not just notice him, but notice him by name, that was a big deal. That made it personal. In that moment, Jesus communicated that what he saw in Zacchaeus was different than what the rest of the world thought of him or saw of him. Jesus communicated that Zacchaeus had value to him. Zacchaeus was seen, known, and valuable to Jesus, no matter what anyone else thought of him, no matter what he even thought of himself. And what's cool is that this is how Jesus sees us. He not only knows our name, but he calls it out. He uses it. He sees us for who we are We are valuable creations of a loving, personal God. You see, when Jesus calls you by name, He's inviting you into a life with Him. And when we accept that invitation, our relationship with Him, well, it becomes real. It becomes personal. And personal began for Zacchaeus when Jesus knew his name, and the same is true for you. It's personal because Jesus knows your name. So, what does this mean for you? How does this change the way you see yourself, or Jesus, or even other people? And for some of you, it might begin with taking one step towards knowing more about Jesus. Zacchaeus climbed a tree to get a glimpse of Jesus, and that was his first step towards personally experiencing Jesus. So maybe you need to climb a tree and take a step for yourself. No, not an actual tree. I mean, just take a step to get to know more about Jesus in a real personal way. Ask questions about Jesus, or talk to an adult you trust, or someone at Milestone about some of the things that might be holding you back. You can even look up the story of Zacchaeus yourself to get started. Whatever it is, take a step to help you know the one who knows your name. Others of you know Jesus in a personal way. You've stepped into a relationship with Him, and you know the value of being close to a personal God who knows your name. Because of what Jesus did for you, you can do the same for others. You see, Jesus doesn't just invite us into a relationship with Him, He actually invites us to know names alongside Him. Check out the command that He gives to us as His followers. Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself." In this passage, Jesus told us first to love Him, and second, to love others, to make it personal to the people in our lives. We can do this by first knowing their name. Just like someone knowing your name makes us feel seen and valued, when we know someone's name and use it to talk to or about them, it gives them the same feeling. It's a simple act that lets someone else know that you care about them in a real and personal way. And remember, it's personal because Jesus knows your name. You know, the reason we talk about all this stuff here is because I actually believe it has the potential to change your life for the better. That personal relationship with Jesus, well, I want that for each and every one of you. And I also want this to be a place where you feel seen and known and valued, a place where we know your name, a place where it feels personal. So, as you get ready to head to our discussion groups, or if you're watching at a later time, I want you to remember that it's personal because Jesus knows your name. And then think about this question: how does it make me feel when someone knows my name? Can't wait to see you all next time. Have a great week.